Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honorable person, my lecturer, Mr. Sony Tandiana, and all the students in this class. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today? I hope you are doing well in this day. First of all, let us thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Because of His blessing, we can come here to join in this course. In this time, I am Aldi Novaramadana as a moderator will guide you in this presentation about the material in this course is intersemiotic translation. Today's presentation will be provided by fourth group and the members there are Aldi Novaramadana, Haifa Nurlistianingsih, and Witri Bella Nursifa.
Before we start the explanation, let me introduce the materials. The material is about the unit of translation. There are several main points from this material. First, systematic approaches to the translation unit. Second, the lexicological unit. Third, the unit of thought. Fourth, the unit translation as a prelude to analysis. And lastly, translation at different levels. Alright everyone, we are going to the explanation this material. For the first presenter will be delivered by Witri Bella. For Witri, the time is yours.
Thanks to moderator for the opportunity. Then I will explain about systematic approaches to the translation unit and the lexicological unit. Okay, first, systematic approaches to the translation unit. Definition: the linguistic level at which ST is recodified in TL is the element used by the translators when working on the ST. Is individual word, group, clause, sentence, the whole text. In this unit, we will begin to examine more systematic approaches to the unit of translation. Jadi, tingkat linguistik di mana ST yaitu source text adalah direkodifikasi dalam TL, target language adalah elemen yang digunakan oleh para penerjemah saat mengerjakan source text. Berupa kata, kelompok, klausa, kalimat, dan seluruh teks. Di unit ini, kita akan mulai memeriksa pendekatan yang lebih sistematis untuk satuan terjemahan. Next, concept the translation of unit. This term refers to the linguistic level at which ST is recodified in TL. In other words, the element used by the translator when working on the ST. It may be the individual word, group, clause, sentence, or even the whole text. In first discussing the words as a possible unit of translation, Vinay and Darbonet draw on Saussures' key concept of the linguistic sign defined by the signifier and signified. Concepts the translation of unit. Istilah ini mengacu pada tingkat linguistik di mana ST direkodifikasi dalam TL. Dengan kata lain, elemen yang digunakan oleh penerjemah saat mengerjakan ST mungkin menjadi kata individu, kelompok, klausa, kalimat, atau bahkan keseluruhan teks. Dalam membahas terlebih dahulu kata sebagai kemungkinan unit terjemahan, Binay dan Darbonet menggunakan kunci Saussures konsep tanda linguistik yang didefinisikan oleh signifier dan signified. Concept the linguistic sign. The linguistic term signs is unified signifier, sound, image, or word, and signified is concept. Importantly, the sign is by nature arbitrary and can only derive meaning from contrast with other signs in the same system, that is language. Vinay and Darbonet reject the word as a unit of translation since translators focus on the semantic field rather than on the formal properties of the individual signifier. For them, the unit is the smallest segment of the utterance whose signs are linked in such a way that they shouldn't be translated individually. This is what they call the lexicological unit and the unit of thought. Vinay dan Darbelnet, yang merupakan salah satu ahli, menolak kata itu sebagai satu kesatuan terjemahan, karena penerjemahan fokus pada bidang semantik daripada sifat formal penanda individu. Bagi mereka, unitnya adalah segmen terkecil dari ucapan yang tanda-tandanya dihubungkan sedemikian rupa sehingga tidak boleh diterjemahkan secara individual. Inilah yang mereka sebut dengan lexicological unit dan unit of thought. And the next, the lexicological unit. The lexicological units described by Vinay and Darbelnet contain lexical elements grouped together to form a single element of thought. Illustrative examples they provide to show the non-correspondence at words level between French and English are 1. Simply souda. That means in English is preferred in the army. And 2. To this with. It means immediately. Of course, the traditional structure of the dictionaries, which divides a language into head words, means that individual words do tend to be treated in isolation, being divided into different sense. Jadi, satuan leksikologis yang dijelaskan oleh Vinay dan Darbelnet mengandung elemen leksikal dikelompokkan bersama-sama untuk membentuk satu elemen pemikiran. Contoh ilustrasif yang diberikan untuk menunjukkan ketidaksesuaian pada tingkat kata antara bahasa Perancis dan Inggris adalah yang pertama, simply souda, sedangkan dalam bahasa Inggris berarti preferred. Yang kedua, to the with, dalam bahasa Inggris immediately. Tentu saja, struktur tradisional kamus yang membagi bahasa menjadi kata-kata utama berarti bahwa kata-kata individual cenderung diperlakukan secara terpisah, dibagi menjadi pengertian yang berbeda. Okay, that's all for me. Back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Witri, for your explanations. For the next presenter will be delivered by Haifa Nulistianingsih. For Haifa, the time is yours.
Thanks to the moderator. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Haifa Nulistianingsih with ID number 2021222023. I will explain about the unit of thought and the unit of translation as a prelude to analysis. The unit of thought. Using the back translation as necessary in order to figure out what unit of translation a translator might use when translating a short text as a potential equivalent is absent in most dictionaries. This shows that it is the specific context which determines the translation of a given unit. A translator needs to consider the whole structure in order to translate an individual word. Thus, the phrase as a whole is a unit of thought and needs to be treated as such in the process of translation. Translation unit, therefore, will vary according to the linguistic structure involved. The 5 units of thought are image, symbol, concept, prototype, and rule. This list of units of thought is listed in order of increasing complexity. Image refers to our mental representation of something or someone. Our representation contains only some features of something or someone, usually the most characteristic features. A symbol is an object, sound, or design which stands for something else. A language is probably the most famous system of symbols because the combination of sounds we produce represents something else. For example, when we say flower, even though the word itself does not have any similarity with the real flower, represents it, and the person to which we are talking will know that this word represents the real flower. A concept is a symbol which represents some object or events which share features or at least one of them. For example, when we say the word candy, it refers to lollipops, gummy bear, and jelly beans. Their common feature is that they are usually small and contain sugar. Prototype. One example of the concept which represents it the best to us, or the one most characteristic of it, is called the prototype. For example, when we say candy, some people may picture gummy bear, others may picture a lollipop. A rule. A rule represents how different concepts relate to each other. For example, even though the same amount can look differently in different containers, it is still the same amount. The unit of translation as a prelude to analysis. Division of ST and TT into the units of translation is of particular importance in finite and Dalbelman's work as a prelude to analysis of change in translation. The translation shifts that will accompany as in Unit 4 as an illustration of how this division works and how it might illuminate the process of translation. A translator approaching the short text will most probably break it down into the title traveling from hetero and the instruction in the second sentence. While that sentence will be taken as a whole, it might also in turn be subdivided more or less as follows. There are or easy to follow or instructions on the or larger or self-service or touch screen or ticket machines. The slash indicates small word groups with a distinct semantic meaning that might be considered separately, while the brackets enclose larger units that a practice translator is likely to treat as a whole. The actual French TT on the poster indicates how this operates in real life. First partes de hetero, les distributeurs de billets et les écrans tactiles vous fourniront des instructions claires et simples en français. You live from hetero, the distributors of tickets with screen touchable to you provide with some instructions clear and simple in French. The title is translated as a question, but with the grammatical subject filled out, you live from hetero, the second sentence has been restructured to produce an instruction that function in French. The different ST or TT element line up as follows, with standing for on omissions or zero translation. The first, there are or easy to follow or instructions, or on or the larger or false for the neuron or clear and simple or des instruction or less or self-service or a acron tactical or distribution the billets or enfranchise. It is clear that the French has translated the larger self-service ticket machine as a single unit, less distributors the billets, with the solid-sounding distributors incorporating by implication not only the concept of self-service but also perhaps the comparator larger from the ST. not also how the definite article has necessarily been considered as part of the same translation unit as ticket machines, giving the plural form less in less distributors the billets in the French. Easy to follow has been rendered by two adjectives linked by an additive conjunction. Clear and simple. There are two additions in the TT, and Franchise in French to reassure the reader that the instruction will be easy to follow for them in their own language, and false for neuron to your will provide, which has taken over the function of the English existential verb form there are. The simple text indicates how, in practice, the translation unit will typically tend to be not individual words but small chunks of language building up into the sentence, what the famous translation theorist Engin Nida calls meaningful mouthfuls of language. That's all from me. Back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Haifa, for your explanation. So we are going to the last presenter, will be delivered by myself, about translation at different level. So from the textbook of translation in 1988, Peter Newmark discussed translation using in part a scale that has become well established in linguistics with Michael Halliday. It should be noted that Halliday linguistics also informed much of Mona Baker. So we have the result of the case analysis studied by Mona Baker in 1992. Examine translation at different levels is level of equivalence. At the level is the word, collocation and idiom, grammar, thematic and information structure, and cohesion and pragmatics. So first is the word. What is the word? Word is the smallest unit of language that can be used by itself. It can be defined that a word is written with more precision, like any sequence of letters with orthographic space on both sides. That is the word. Next is collocation. Collocation would be to think in terms of the tendency certain words to occur regularly in given language. Collocations are fairly flexible patterns of language which allow several variations in form, and also idiom in expression that takes on figurative meanings when certain words are combined, which is different from the literal definition of the individual words. Next is grammar. Grammar is simply the collection of principles defining how to put together a sentence. That is grammar. Next is thematic and information structure. There are two main approaches to the analysis of clause as a message. The Halliday approach treats thematic and information structures as a separate, often overlapping features of discourse and organization. Next is cohesion. Cohesion is the network of surface relations which link words and expression to the other words and expression in a text. Coherence is the network of conceptual relations which underlie the surface text. And lastly, pragmatics. Pragmatics is the study of how words are used, or the study of signs, symbols, and others. That is pragmatics. Halliday's systemic analysis of English grammar is based on the following hierarchical rank scale. Starting with the smallest unit, there are morpheme, word, group, clause, and sentence. First is morpheme. In English grammar and morphology, a morpheme is a meaningful linguistic unit consisting of words such as dog or a word element such as the s at the end of dogs. that cannot be divided into smaller meaningful parts. Second is word. Like I told you about the word in the previous slide, word is the smallest unit of language that can be used by itself. And also, word is a unit of language consisting of one or more spoken sounds or their written representation, and that function as a principal carrier of meaning. For example, like arriving, black, bird, and any others. Third is group. Group is any combination of words that does not contain a finite verb and has a head. A head word is an obligatory or indispensable word in a group. Other words in a group hang on the head word. For example, like foot and mouth disease. It's already included in the group, so we can call that group. Fourth is clause. Clause is a group of words containing a subject and predicate and functioning as a member of a complex or compound sentence. And also, clause is comprised of a group of words which includes a subject and a finite verb. A clause contains only one subject and one verb. The subject of a clause can be mentioned or hidden, but the verb must be apparent and distinguishable. And lastly, there is sentence. Sentence is the largest unit of any language. In English, it begins with a capital letter and ends with a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. The sentence is generally defined as a word or a group of words that express a third idea by giving a statement or order, asking a question, or exclaiming. So that is the sentence. Alright everyone, for the conclusion of presentation today is the unit of translation is normally the linguistic unit which the translator uses when translating. Translation theories have proposed various units from individual word and group to clauses and sentence and even higher levels such as text and intertextual levels. All lengths of language can at different moments and also simultaneously be used as unit of translation in the course of the translation activity. While it may be that the translator most often works at the sentence level, paying specific attention to problems faced by individual words or group in that context, it is also important to take into account the function of the whole text and reference to extra textual features. So that was the conclusions. I hope you can remember from this important point in these materials. Thank you for all the presenters about the explanations. It's very helpful and hopefully will give benefit for us. Alright everyone, that's enough from me and also from this group. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.